the stringent Phase 3 heavy-duty vehicle rule. My name is Trisha Delo-Iacono. I am the head of policy with CalSTART. We are a clean technology consortium working with hundreds of businesses and governments, both nationally and internationally, to advance clean transportation solutions. It is my honor and my privilege to introduce someone who has consistently been a champion for climate and the industry. He knows that meeting climate goals is not a zero-sum game, that if we take the right steps in the right way, we will win. An incredible champion, not only for the state of California, but for the whole country. We are so lucky to have him in the Senate. Please join me in welcoming California's Senior Senator Alex Padilla.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Trish, for the introduction, and thank you all for joining us on this chilly, it's not cold for Rhode Island standards, but chilly afternoon. Proud to stand here alongside my friend and my colleague, Senator Whitehouse, and so grateful to have organizations like CalSTART as a partner in our comprehensive climate fight. And I especially thank the industry leaders who are behind us, who are working hard day in and day out to usher in a successful transition to zero emissions. Now, we're here today with a specific but urgent message for the EPA as they're finalizing their Phase 3 rule. Don't miss this chance to transform our transportation sector and safeguard clean air for all. The health of our planet and the health of our people depends on it. Now, growing up in Los Angeles, I vividly remember a couple things from my childhood days. One, days that riding school buses to and from school, that diesel exhaust is captured in the bus. Bad for your lungs, obviously, bad for your health, bad for kids' learning ability. And to think that today we have technologies like electric school buses that eliminate that diesel exhaust. Better for kids' health, better for the air, better for their learning ability. We're in a new day. I also remember days that we would actually be sent home from school early because the quality of the air was so bad. Not only could we not play outside safely, it wasn't just safe to stay in school. So those are concrete reminders for me of the real threat vehicle emissions pose to our environment and to our health. And when you take a step back and examine that pollution, you realize that despite only 10% of the vehicles on the road being heavy-duty vehicles, but they produce over a quarter of the transportation sector's greenhouse gas emissions and over half of all particulate matters. This has to be a priority area for the EPA and for all of us. It's these same freight trucks and buses that are contributing to the catastrophic climate events that we've seen in recent years that are devastating our communities daily through pollution and preventing today's kids from playing outside. At the same time, diesel trucks also pose a disproportionate threat to communities of color, black and brown communities who are more likely to reside near highways and high pollution areas and to develop asthma and other illnesses as a result. So we have an obligation, not just an opportunity, but an obligation to stand up for them. So yes, as the EPA is working to finalize its Phase 3 rule, let's face it, we cannot meet our comprehensive climate goals without a strong EPA rule regulating heavy-duty vehicle emissions and driving the commercial market forward. That's why this fall I was proud to lead a bicameral coalition of 81 lawmakers urging the EPA to finalize the strongest possible greenhouse gas emission standards for heavy-duty vehicles. 81 members of Congress in agreement. And I know it can be done because I'm proud to represent California. And California has given us the roadmap. Earlier this year, California leaders brought truck and engine manufacturers to the table and reached a historic agreement to achieve a 100% zero-emission heavy-duty vehicle sales by the year 2036. Yes, an agreement with industry. Manufacturers came to the table because they know that it's good for communities and it's good for business. They know that it's good for emissions reduction and it's good for jobs. And it can make our nation's zero-emission vehicle industry the envy of the world. Now let me conclude by saying two last things. First of all, we're going into COP28 with only a proposed rule that must be strengthened and finalized if we are to live up to our global commitments. And finally, in order to cut down on daily pollution, to build up our zero-emission vehicle industry, to continue to lead on the global stage, and to improve the health of countless communities, we need EPA Administrator Regan to meet his Hamilton moment. Don't throw away your shot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just a glimmer of why we're here today and how important this rule and this opportunity is for this administration. Now I'd like to introduce a relentless climate champion, chair of the Senate Budget Committee, and an EPW committee member. I don't think he needs much more of an introduction, Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you, Tricia. Let me start by thanking California's Senator Alex Padilla for his leadership, and California's CalSTART and Tricia Dell'Iacono for their California leadership, and California's long leadership in addressing vehicle emissions. Rhode Island is one of the many states that tags along behind the California emission standards, and we're very proud to be a part of that group. But I begin with appreciation for California. The transportation sector is the largest source of carbon pollution in the U.S. And within the transportation sector, trucks are the second largest source. So there are real gains to be had from cleaning this up. EPA has ample authority here, and I echo Alex's call to the EPA administrator to do this strong and do this quick. We don't want it to lurk over into Congressional Review Act territory. In order to meet our goals under the COP27 Global MOU, we need to do this kind of work. And if we're going to be prepared for the EU CBAM carbon tariff that is coming our way, we need to get ahead of it by lowering our carbon intensity so that we can compete more effectively. So as Alex said, this is about taking care of our health, because when these trucks and buses idle, it isn't just the carbon emissions that come out. It's about our economy, and it's about our responsibility to take care of this one planet that we call home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senators. Now I'm going to introduce, behind us we have various different voices representing the industry sector. So I'm going to introduce Matt LeDuc with Forum Mobility.
Thank you to CalSTART for putting this together, and thank you to the senators. And especially thank you to Senator Padilla, who represents a state where I'm born and raised in California. I'm Matt LeDuc, and I'm the co-founder. I'm the CEO of Forum Mobility. We build heavy-duty charging depots for battery electric trucks, and we provide those trucks plus that charging at a simple monthly price. Our initial fleet servicing the ports of LA and Long Beach of battery electric trucks have about 100,000 miles on them at this point and counting. And to expand that effort, we're going to be announcing a project tomorrow in Long Beach that's going to be able to charge hundreds and hundreds of trucks a day and continue to grow the infrastructure needed around those ports. The first part of my career over 20 years ago was in solar, and I think a lot about the parallels between solar and freight. I spent decades working to grow that industry to the point where we are now today, where we can add clean power more cheaply than fossil fuels. When I got my start, solar was a niche. It was incredibly costly. Now it's the fastest growing and cheapest source of new power globally. The recipe was simple. It took clear goals and a lot of thoughtful leadership, like this, to grow and scale and bring down the costs. It was a lot of work, but the benefits today are clear. Solar is a foundational part of our clean grid and provides us hope for the future. There's that similar opportunity that we have today in freight. We do this work at Forum because our communities deserve it. My kids deserve it. Our children of the community deserve this, and we deserve a cleaner future. Communities around the ports and major warehouses often have double the cancer risk and asthma rates, as Senator Padilla referenced. LAist wrote an article that there is a 98% higher likelihood of contracting cancer if you live in Wilmington, California, which is the community directly adjacent to the ports of LA and Long Beach. That's not acceptable, and that needs to change. And clear goals like this are key to that. I want to also say, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we don't leave people out of this transition. In the case of the California ports, there's over 30,000 truckers that serve those ports every single day. 80% of those truckers are small fleets, with a lot of them being independent operators. We need to ensure that the people making this transition have the support to make a good living driving clean trucks. What we have is a generational transition ahead of us. It's going to take a lot of resources, and we need to continue to support to build out that charging infrastructure. We need to continue to scale to bring down the cost of vehicles, and we need to ensure that those who take the first step in zero emission freight are able to do so competitively. We define success at Forum as not only a cleaner community, but also at the lower cost per mile that we know that this can do for our truckers and our customers. Done right, both those goals are within reach. Clear goals are an important step, and I look forward to working with government partners to deliver the cleaner future our communities and my kids and all of our children deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt and Forum Mobility, for your support of this rule. Next, I'm going to introduce Nicholas Runge with InCharge.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, CalSTART. Thank you for the present senators here for having us. My name is Nicholas. I'm with InCharge Energy. InCharge Energy is a turnkey EV charging solution provider who manufactures, sells, and maintains EV charging solutions all across the nation. We are taking a holistic approach to electric vehicle charging with all the processes along the whole value chain. Today, InCharge is already providing turnkey fleet electrification services to hundreds of fleets. If they are last mile delivery vans, food and beverage trucks, or school and transit buses, we are shipping today and installing over 150 chargers per week. We are doing this with putting a lot of efforts into that, applying all of the needed rules and regulations that are out there across the United States to our installs. That starts with the products, the hardware and the software products, the service and maintenance activities, as well as also the different regulations around the installations. We at InCharge think that a national rule is important because it provides market certainty. If there is a rule that provides a potential for nationwide sales and service, then products can be developed in the right quantities and qualities in order to support national fleet electrification. A national rule would also ease the economy of scale. More EVs and infrastructure are needed for the national program to support the clean air efforts that we are all putting in here. And with rules, or with a rule that count in all 50 states, there will be better pricing due to cost reductions for all vehicles and chargers. Furthermore, regulative actions can bring clarity to our ever-evolving industry and help avoiding island solutions. This would provide a greater and more accessible ecosystem for all market participants, meaning it would help mature an ecosystem today that is today more the Wild Wild West. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for your support on this.
Thank you, Nicholas. Next, I'd like to introduce Lion Electric, Nate Baggio.
Thank you for having me here today, Tricia, and thank you, Senator Whitehouse and Padilla. for your support of this very important rule. I'm not just here today to talk to you as a manufacturer, but also a fleet manager that has had to work for decades through these corridors that everybody is referencing. Trucks coming from the Port of Long Beach through communities like Linwood, Compton, Southgate have an inordinate amount of pollution dropped on those communities, those families, those schools. This EPA rule will help correct that. I also live in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, which also has heavy trucking corridors. Lion Electric is a manufacturer of medium and heavy duty trucks, exactly what we're talking about today. We just opened a factory here in the United States in Joliet, Illinois, that can manufacture, thank you, that at scale will manufacture 20,000 of these vehicles a year. We are ready now. American manufacturing is primed and ready to support this rule. We are already delivering heavy-duty vehicles and even supporting the Clean School Bus program referenced by Senator Padilla. And we're not just delivering in California, we are delivering in South Dakota, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Georgia, all over the United States of America. This is happening now. Each one of these vehicles, for every mile on the road, each one of these diesel vehicles for every mile on the road puts almost 4 pounds of carbon emission into the air every time it moves. There's a better way. There's a cleaner way to do this, and we can do it now. Time is running out. It is not too late. So I urge Administrator Regan to pass this rule. We're ready to get to work and clean up our roads.
Thank you so much, Nate. Next, I'm going to introduce Sam Versalati with Terawatt.
Thanks again to Tricia and CalSTART for bringing this group together. It's very important for industry to be joining our leaders from the Senate in calling for a strong, heavy-duty Phase 3 vehicle emissions rule. Terawatt Infrastructure is a California-based company building a nationwide charging network for fleet vehicles. We are starting our build-out on the I-10 electric corridor, which we hope will serve as a model for the rest of the country in their corridor development. The I-10 electric corridor will involve 7 sites between Long Beach and El Paso, Texas, and we are actively developing and constructing these sites over the next year. We recently announced the acquisition of 2 additional sites in California's Inland Empire region. Each day, we are having more and more discussions with fleets seeking to electrify. We are here with one message today. The charging infrastructure needed to support this rule will be there. It will be rolled out in alignment with the needs of fleets and the needs of our government partners. And Terawatt is ready to be that partner here and into the future. So thanks again to the senators for their support of this rule. We hope that Administrator Regan and the EPA will take these comments to heart and move fast to finalize this rule by early winter of 2024. It's so important for our air quality. It's so important to send a market signal to start deploying more and more capital into heavy-duty charging infrastructure. And we hope to see more and more companies like Terawatt starting to run headfirst into this challenge and enable electric trucking today. So thanks again. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sam. One more speaker from the industry voices. We're going to hear from Ben Drake with Workhorse.
Oops. Thank you, Tricia, and thank you to the senators for your leadership. We really appreciate the opportunity here today. So, Ben Drake with Workhorse. This is such a critical environmental issue, but it's also an important issue for the nation's fleet owners and operators. So, just a little bit about Workhorse. We are an all-electric Class 4, 5, and 6 EV manufacturer. We also manufacture drones, and we also run a fleet electrification business called Stables by Workhorse. So 3 business lines, and the trucks that we manufacture are 100% electrifiable for the segments that we operate in, so across 4 through 6. So these are your last mile delivery routes. This is the vocational work trucks, all these applications that are electrifiable today. And I'll give you an example of this. So for the packages that we receive on our front doorstep or our businesses across the country, 97% of those routes are less than 150 miles, and actually 70% of those routes are less than 100 miles. So this entire segment is fully electrifiable today. We also have our stables and stalls business. And so this is our fleet electrification initiative. We bought actually a FedEx ground route. And so we are a fleet owner and operator and a manager on the transition. And we're already seeing year over year, we're seeing maintenance and fueling savings costs of north of 60%. So the only way that we can transition this business model to small businesses and fleet owners and operators is for the EPA to adopt an advanced clean truck standard that can really hit home on enabling these transitions for the small businesses. So really appreciate the opportunity today, and just want to leave with one last comment that this is, there's a lot of moonshot policies out there, but I can tell you this is not one of them. This entire segment, class 4 through 6, is 100% electrifiable today. So we call on the EPA to take action swiftly, and we thank again for your time and your leadership. Thank you all.
All right, just a few more comments, and then you guys can all get back to your warm offices. Thank you so much to everyone for being here, and a special thank you to the senators for their leadership. Without them, I think, our climate goals would be further in reach than they actually are. As I noted, I'm the head of policy for CalStart. We represent hundreds of companies, from technology firms to transit operators, and from vehicle manufacturers to research institutions. Our members include companies that are very invested in the outcome of this rulemaking: medium and heavy-duty truck manufacturers, truck charging infrastructure, and utilities. As you heard today, these companies are paying very close attention right now and working with us to ensure that the Biden administration issues a strong rule that works for their bottom lines. We all know that medium and heavy-duty trucks are both the economic backbone of this nation's economy, and the data tells us that they also emit the greatest amount of pollution into the atmosphere of all the vehicles on the road. So it is critical that we get this right for the industry, for the planet, and for our children. And right now, companies are desperately seeking the market certainty so that they can plan for the next 1, 5, and 10 years of their business that this rule will bring. Last year, as Senator Padilla referenced, at the COP, United States signed a global MOU on zero-emission medium and heavy-duty vehicles, which committed us to working with countries around the world to enable 100% zero-emission new truck and bus sales by 2040. But with COP28 starting tomorrow, it is a missed opportunity to bring about the most meaningful emission reductions to the transportation sector while also providing environmental justice communities protection. With the strong standards set in California and other states, we already have 30% of the U.S. population living in states with strong standards for clean trucks. But without a long-term, consistent national standard from the EPA, it is very possible that we will continue to hedge on reducing emissions from trucks for the next 30 years. Industry will be forced to manage varying standards, and we will fail to bring in emissions in the transportation sector to net zero by 2050. CalStart tapped into our members' expertise to determine how we can build out the charging infrastructure for trucks to meet this timeline. And we developed a roadmap that shows us how to achieve this in a smart, feasible, and phased-in way. We already know that the private sector will cover the vast majority of costs related to building the charging infrastructure we need. And this roadmap has the backing of the most important players in commercial transportation who are ready and willing to make it happen. As we heard from InCharge and Forum Mobility, these companies represent billions of dollars of private investments that are already being made to support this transition. What I really want to leave you all here with today is a strong message from the very industry that will be required to build the trucks, the charging stations, and everything in between. We are ready to meet this challenge. We have the technology and the know-how, and we are asking the Biden administration for the market certainty of a strong Phase 3 heavy-duty vehicle rule. And now I'd like to turn it over to any questions from the media for our participants. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Where?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Just north of Calfee North.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing.
No, I don't.